biggest question for you. Yes, Florida State's had 4 straight losing seasons on the football field, record-wise. But looking at Florida State's resume, what do they bring to either conference, the SEC or the Big Ten?
Well, you guys, first of all, let me actually skip ahead to show you guys something real quick. So first of all, Mark, can you put if Mark can put that on there? These are some heat maps I put together that I think are really helpful, and we'll take a look at you guys with the ACC, the SEC, and the Big Ten. You guys, Florida State fits in very, very well today in the ACC. Right in the middle of it. So this on these, what they do is green is sort of the best in the conference, and red is sort of the worst in the conference. But I mean, the ACC only has actually very, very, very good schools. So there's no real worst, but just sort of the number 15 of the conference. And Florida State has long benefited from the ACC. I mean, you guys remember when we were growing up, Florida State was not nearly the academic school that it is today. Like, Florida State has made just amazing strides in academics. A lot of it likely driven because of your relationship through the ACC. People don't understand how the role that conferences really play in institutions and institutional success. And so the ACC has been very, very, very good to Florida State. However, you guys I think are still incredibly valuable despite your losing season. So if you take a look here, just looking at a couple of these metrics here, fan base, you guys have the biggest, the second biggest fan base in the ACC behind Clemson right now. And I'll tell you, I think that is very depressed because of your losing seasons. And that number, if I did a 10-year average over the course of the 2010s, from 2011 data to 2019 data, it sort of works across the whole range. But this has not been a strong decade for Florida State, or for my alma mater either. So I don't know how you feel. Is there somebody's somebody's microphone? But you guys have a huge, very latent fan base that will grow, I think. As far as overall program rank, when we take a look at the 5-year football program rank, you're number 6. When we take a look at the sorry, I think I missaid that on fan base. It was program rank. You're the second best behind Clemson. When we take a look at basketball rank, you guys have actually not been that bad. Take a look at overall sports across the board. You guys have been very good. And we take a look at institutional things. For example, your depending on which academic ranking you guys use, you're very solid. You're top 30 or so academic school in the Power 5. So you're sort of right there in the middle of the ACC. When we take a look at the SEC, however, you guys also fit very, very well in the SEC. You're sort of in its upper tier academically, up there with, UGA and schools like that. The SEC kind of is a little bit trifurcated, I would say, between some outstanding schools, some really, really good schools, and then some okay schools. You guys are up in there with the really, really good schools. And you're not an AAU member, which... I mean, I don't know if they think they're close to that or not, but that's a big ding for the Big Ten. We'll get to that in just a sec. But as far as you look here with your stuff with the SEC, I mean, you guys fit in pretty great with the SEC. Even losing aside, I think it was sort of very much a no-brainer for the SEC because from a marketing standpoint, you guys win, those numbers go up, as we've seen. I don't sort of have the charts on here, but I'll tell you that winning programs that are on an upward trajectory do better. The other thing about the SEC that I think makes you very attractive to them is I'll tell you a secret that people don't like to know about the SEC. And that is that the SEC likes to add good academic schools. Every school, with the exception of Oklahoma, which I think just like you guys, very good school, but not in AAU. Every school that the SEC has added other than Oklahoma is an AAU school. So the SEC is not messing around with academics. They are boosting up the academic profile of the SEC. They just don't talk about it as much as the Big Ten or the Pac-10 does, or the ACC. When we take a look at you guys in the Big Ten, certainly your athletic legacy is great. You guys are a phenomenal, phenomenal school. But the Big Ten is really just a super, super elite academic league. The Big Ten integrates. This is one of the things that why the Big Ten would be great for anybody who joins. The Big Ten integrates its purchasing, a lot of its research, its cybersecurity, its IT development. All the libraries of the Big Ten and all the Big Ten information systems are linked up together to better enable research and academic elements throughout the school. The Big Ten helps like mentor each other's PhD students, and they have hiring programs to help hire each other's grads into their school. So the thing about the other, and the ACC is doing a little bit of this. The SEC does not do very much of it. The Big 12 does none of it at all. And that is that the Big Ten is a huge institutional boost. The Big Ten people will often joke. They'll say, it's cute that the SEC makes millions of dollars, but we deal in the billions. The B in Big Ten is for billions. And so there are enormous advantages to a school going to the Big Ten. One of the things that I think for you guys that would be tough is, looking at that AAU designator. The Big Ten has never added a school that was not AAU. Michigan State, 1949, they hadn't quite gotten their AAU designation yet. But so since 1949, the Big Ten has never added a school that was not AAU, full stop. Nebraska wasn't AAU, got kicked out, sort of a little drama there. But in the Big Ten, in institutional metrics, you would be, you're very similar to Rutgers in Maryland, but you would probably be the second to last behind Nebraska, which is the bottom of the Big Ten.
Well, anytime we can compare to the State University of New Jersey, that's a good designation.
Yeah.
Right there.
Rutgers is a great school. They just stink at football.
Yeah, my family's from that area. It's not the best school in the world. But I guess my question to you would be, if you're both the SEC and you're the Big Ten, I've seen various reports saying that the money payouts, if a Florida State, Clemson, and Miami, Notre Dame were to join the Big Ten, we're talking about possibly $100 million per school. Is some of the various reports I have heard.
I would not see Clemson joining the Big Ten.
Why is that?
Clemson does not meet the Big Ten's institutional levels.
So
honestly,
you legitimately, and I default to you on this one. You don't see the Big Ten bending at all for football to take, because what I've written before is that they could sweep the country if they come in here and take the three biggest possible players in the Southeast left out of that ACC, the three biggest names. They would sweep the Southeast, and they would be the countrywide conference.
I would say that I would not want to have a conversation in Clemson media about Clemson's chances of joining the Big Ten.
Okay.
To be honest, if we took a look at their numbers, and so let's just look at the ACC there. Clemson is at the bottom of the ACC. You guys are in the upper middle of the ACC.
Right.
You would be Clemson would be lower than, I think, probably, I'd have to check if they'd be lower than Nebraska. I think so. Let's take a quick peek. Okay, Clemson's right about the same as Nebraska, but they're very much not AAU.
Okay.
I would not see the Big Ten as a likely destination for Clemson.
Okay, so
culturally, Clemson is not very culturally in the Big Ten school either. Like, just as far as the organization itself goes.
Looking at the qualifier for the AAU designation, it's nothing truly academic. It's just 3/4 of the 60 schools that are AAU members would have to vote for you to be able to get in, per what I just the research that I had. And obviously, if the conference is behind you, you've got 1/3 already there, or close to it. So, that seems like a semantic thing that's being pushed by what most things in America are pushed by, the almighty dollar. The thing about Clemson that I don't know, I might not have caught it because, my technology was I had to go switch to my iPad. But Clemson is actually ranked ahead of Florida State as far as TV viewership. And at the end of the day, this is what this is being pushed by. It's not being pushed by, we can talk about academics all day, and that's great. But when it was the first time 85,000 people filled a math room to see somebody do a math problem? It hasn't happened. But we have seen, from a fan perspective, a consistently filled stadium, winning, butts in seats, and a fan base that will travel. And that's why I like the Big Ten, even before we looked at all these other things, is the fact that I played against Penn State in the Orange Bowl was the craziest experience I've ever had. Those people were there for 2 weeks. And it was a whiteout game basically for them. Like they had a home game. And I'm looking at Clemson travels extremely well. Actually, it sucks because Miami is such a good product and you'll get the TV market, but they don't travel like as well as everybody else does. But it would still be hard to get that out. And I guess my thing is with this, USC and UCLA are very good academic schools as well. I don't think people give them enough credit for it. But to actually have a cross, like you could be watching TV, you're watching football from noon, which Big Ten is known for, all the way to midnight. So now your network on Fox now has an advantage over ESPN and CBS, which is what would be with the SEC network. I guess that's the only thing. Because I was wondering at first, I was like AAU, like the Amateur Athletic Union, and then I had to go look at it's the American Association of Universities.
Yeah,
and I was like, okay, well, what is this? It seems like a very research based.
I'll tell you, there's a couple schools like Wake Forest and Notre Dame, for example, that are just world class universities. But and Dartmouth as well. Dartmouth just got into the AAU like 2 years ago.
Is Dartmouth going to join the ACC when we leave or not?
Who knows?
Do you think they
actually UConn should, to be totally honest. But with Jim Moore is doing some good stuff there. But there's some schools like Wake Forest and Notre Dame that do amazing undergrad stuff. They just don't do research, and so they're not AAU schools. They're sort of like the exception to that rule.